We begin in Sudan, where heavy fighting continues despite a truce extension announced last Thursday by the army and rival paramilitary group known as the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF. Airstrikes and artillery have rocked parts of the capital, Khartoum. The heavy bombardment has damaged buildings in residential neighbourhoods. The conflict has spread to the volatile Darfur region. The violence broke out 2 weeks ago, sparked by a power struggle between two rival generals. Hundreds have been killed and tens of thousands have fled for their lives. For more, we are joined now by Matt Nashed. He is an Egyptian journalist following the developments in Sudan from the Egyptian capital, Cairo. Matt, the truce between the army and RSF has been repeatedly broken, with both parties finger-pointing. Why are they unable to reach an agreement?
I think because each one thinks that they can still win. Usually negotiations aren't going to really get started or have momentum until one party is trying to protect itself from losing more than it already has, and another party is trying to, essentially officialize its gains. And so right now what we're seeing is that a pretty even keel fighting within Khartoum between the military and the RSF. So it doesn't lend a lot of incentive for either side to negotiate when they're not going to get more or less than they otherwise would have, because they have no consolidation of gains on the battlefield.
As you well know, both the RSF and the army claim they're winning the fight. Is it possible to assess who actually has the upper hand at this point?
At this point, I don't think any party really does have the upper hand. I think what we are seeing is that air superiority is with the army, because it just has an aerial attack, which the RSF does not. So that lends it an advantage there. But at the same time, the RSF, they're just a very sprawling force. So they've been able to infiltrate a lot of residential neighborhoods accordingly. And so, there is control and checkpoints set up on that end. Right now, I see neither of those two parties winning. I just see one loser, and that's all the civilians caught in the middle.
Indeed. There are reports of intercommunal violence in Darfur, where clashes in the past have killed hundreds and thousands. How serious is the situation there?
It is serious. I mean, I like to qualify. I don't love the term intercommunal because it suggests that it's separate from the political dynamics that are taking place in Khartoum and long-standing political dynamics there. This is really what's happening is a power vacuum, first off, mixed with how the conflict between the RSF and the army is shaping up within and exacerbating local disputes between communities in Darfur. And these local disputes have fundamentally been over land resources and water, so very much political. But what we're seeing is that with absolutely no protection force there, and with both the RSF and the army generally recruiting people to come to Khartoum, what we're seeing is that we're seeing a number of tribes, a number of communities that have had kind of long-standing alliances, but I wouldn't even call it that, it's a bit complex, but relations with the RSF that are now taking advantage of this power vacuum to try to consolidate gains and attack, internally displaced camps and try to control land and take water resources. And as a result of there not being many places to flee, we're seeing these communities that are being attacked now trying to arm themselves and create self-patrols and barricade their communities in order to protect themselves. So incredibly volatile there. And one thing that I would stress, which I think is quite important, is that while the fighting in Khartoum is having people being indiscriminately killed, which is indeed tragic and irresponsible, in Darfur, the real risk is that there is more collective punishment going on and that people are actually being targetedly killed, in particular communities. And so this raises another level on terms of the emergency radar of the kind of killing and violence that we're seeing there.
And we will have to end it there. Our thanks to journalist Matt Nashed.
Thank you very much for having me.